Okay, this is my first time doing anything like this. I was asked to record myself making my Reuteri yogurt, which I know a lot of my family and friends are now starting to use it. So let me just get through this. I got the sun is setting and I'm using that for my lighting, so we'll do it quickly. Okay, the first thing is stuff, what you need. I like to use something that looks like this. And it is for picking up my jars because what I do is I boil everything. It's like you're canning. So you want to make sure everything is sterile. Wash your hands. I put these jars that are standing here beside me into a boiling pot of water and I boil them for several minutes and that's good. The other tools you need is you need a whisk. I don't know if you can see that. It's a whisk. Okay, be sure and boil it. Make sure right around the edges where you can collect bacteria. Same thing with these are rubber spatulas. Make sure at the joints you boil those or use ones without joints because they can introduce bacteria. The other one is I get spoons, big ones, and clean them really well again in boiling water. And I have a bowl which will hold at least 1 quart of, I use actually an organic full fat cream. It's amazing. Okay, so this is the cream. I let it sit out at room temperature for the day for a few hours, so it's not freezing cold out of the fridge. And that's it. You've got your sous vide, which has the sous vide container and the sous vide, and that's how I cook it because you need to cook it for 36 hours at exactly 100 degrees. And that gives you exactly what you need. The other thing that you need is you need inulin. And inulin looks like this. You have to be super careful with this. It's easy to introduce bacteria. You also can use something called Reuteri. These are the capsules, and that's what you start with. But when you do that, you still have to start with the inulin capsules. I prefer to do a quick starter batch, freeze them into ice cubes very meticulously, and then use 1 ice cube per jar, full quart of cream. And that's all you need. It's really simple. So what you need is 1 jar of cream. You need 1 ice cube of your Reuteri starter, and you need 1 jar to put that in. This is about a 1 quart jar, and you can see that like that. And you need 1 tablespoon of inulin, 1 to 2. That's it. Nothing else. Okay, so let's just show, I'll just show you what that looks like. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is you want to open your inulin. Now here's something really crazy. Because you're growing a culture from 200 million to 300 billion, if you introduce any germs or microbes into this, you can actually grow it and multiply it dramatically. So you want to be very careful when you open this. You want to be careful not to sneeze or cough into this. Don't leave this open by a vent. This is super important to keep that super sterile. So even talking to you about that, I'm just going to put it right there. So that's my inulin. Okay, so the first thing you do is you get your sterilized bowl, which I boiled. I'm going to take a spoon, 1 giant spoon, like a tablespoon, heaping, and put it into my bowl. That's it. Once that goes in, this inulin is what helps to create the high count of the bacteria. Okay, so this is my inulin spoon. I'm going to put it over here on top of my inulin like that, so it's safe. Okay, now with that, you want to add a little bit of cream into the bowl. So you can see that there's just inulin powder in there. I'm going to open my cream. And I'm going to put just a little bit in there, just like a few tablespoons. Once I do that, I'm going to stir it up and make a paste. And that paste really just helps to make sure that you don't get any clumps or lumps. Okay, so this is pretty easy, huh? Okay, so you get your clumps and lumps out. Make that into a really nice smooth paste. Just take a couple of minutes. You don't have to worry about what you're doing here because the inulin and the cream just blend in beautifully. Okay, now when that's done, I'm going to add, now what I did was before I started, I took 1 ice cube, not with my fingers. I carefully put it into one of these little dishes because I didn't want to touch it even out of the Ziploc baggie that I keep them in. Because again, you don't want to introduce any germs of any kind. Okay, so I'm putting that, now I've got this stirred up. I'm going to add a little bit more cream. This is 36% whole organic whipping cream. Beautiful. It make sure it's pasteurized. If it's not, if it's raw, you could end up with a real problem. So I'm gonna put my, you can see my Reuteri. So now what we did was we put the inulin, but this is good stuff. This is the Reuteri starter that I made from another batch. And when I finished, I had one whole jar and I actually very carefully put it into a sterilized ice bucket, I guess you could call it, ice tray. And then each one of those, and I very carefully dropped those into a large baggie, marked it very well, the date and what it is, into my freezer. That's all you need to do. Okay, so now I don't want to get too aggressive with this because heating up Reuteri takes away some of the culture. So you just want to get it nice and mixed up, make sure there are no lumps. Good. Okay. When that's done, you're just going to slowly add the rest of your cream into this mixture and stir it as you go. So you're really just like creating this nice, you start with, but having a very small amount at the beginning means that you are now getting it nice and smooth. And then if you add it slowly, this becomes a really nice batch. Okay. So once I get one done, usually take that over here. And I take one of my disinfected jars. I put it over a plate because it won't, that way it won't spill everywhere. And I just pour that into my jar. Now you'll see that these jars hold a little bit more than a full quart. So I'm going to, that's one. I'm going to take that and this extra that's left over, I'm going to pour that into my excess jar. I have an excess jar. Because I love these big jars, they're beautiful, but they're just a little too small. So I actually have a little leftover that I can use for other things later. Okay, that's number one. That's it. That is it. Now you take that and loosely cover it and you put it into your sous vide, which will have water in it. And I'll show you that in a second. But let's just go and let's just keep going. We're going to go through this and do this 4 times. I'll fast forward. Okay, so what I might do is I might stop the video for a minute and fast forward it, and then I'll take you to the next step because we're just going to repeat that fully 4 times. Okay, I got 4 of them done. Okay, so let me just show you what I've got. What I have is 4 of these jars, which I absolutely love. They're just beautiful. They're sort of straight-sided, and they're really nice for yogurt, and they are easy to scoop out after. And one thing that I have as well, lids for a small jar like this. It looks like that. You can put it on here. And if you have the ring lids, you can put those on very loosely. You don't want to tighten that down. So if we use that on this jar, we would just very gently just put it loosely on there. You don't want to cover these tightly. Now, when you put these into the water bath, which has to stay at 100 degrees for 36 hours straight, that's it. You basically make up 4 of these. Be sure you know what temperature and time they go on. And in this case, this is called a sous vide. It's a bucket, the sous vide bucket. And then this is the actual sous vide. Plug this in. And up here, you program it. And you program it. You go around and you say, I want it at 100 degrees. And you can kind of click around till it hits 100. And you click around till it gets to 36 hours. Clamp this onto the top of this. This basically is the lid that goes on the sous vide. So what I do typically is I get this all ready and put these pieces on here. So I put all the jars into the bucket, and you put the water line very carefully. Put water in like use a hot water tap on your and it will basically, you want to cover it right just below these lids. You don't want any water or anything introduced into your jars. You want to keep those very, very sterile. So the cool thing is if I take this middle one, which I use as an extra one, and I put it in the middle, there's exactly enough room to fit the sous vide into the bucket. So This has a hole. It basically fits the sous vide, and I'm gonna put it there. Put in the water. It's got a little clamp. You clamp it down over top and fit that over top. Plug it in and program it, and you leave it for 36 hours. Now, here are a couple of things to remember. Sterilize everything, get all your tools ready, have a clean plate. Make sure that you you can actually fill the sous vide up to just about, say, I think 3 quarts. So then when you put your jars in, it'll just be a little low, and you want to very carefully introduce water around these jars. Don't get any inside. And also don't tighten these jars. Now, if you don't have lids for them, just use a little bit of saran wrap on the top, loosely covered. Then you turn this thing on and it basically just runs. So the thing is, you want to get all your tools ready. You want to have a nice clean plate to work from. You want to have everything sterilized and get your jars ready. And now the starter can be, you can start with the Reuteri tablets, one tablet per quart, and then mix that in, or you can use the starter that I did from an ice cube. I would melt the ice cube in a clean, sterile dish before and keep them separate because it's easier just to work with. And then put them into each of your jars, and away you go. And then when it's done, I usually like to cook it after dinner, so sometime around 7 or 8 p.m. at night, which is basically the sun's going down right now. And what that means is that 36 hours from now, so if it's let's see, Monday night at say 7 o'clock, this will be ready Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday morning at 7 a.m. Don't do it at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That means you'll be getting up at 3 o'clock in the mornings. So when these are ready, you basically just want to lift them out very carefully, dry them off. Don't shake them. Put them carefully into the fridge and let them sit for several hours before they're ready to go. And at that point, I then might take a jar and add some Truvia and a little organic vanilla and flavor it, and then put it back into a really nice big tub, which looks amazing. And then just use that. You're going to have about half a cup of this a day, and it's going to give you the most amazing hair, skin, nails, complexion, mood, you name it. It's amazing. Anyway, that's my video.